Cardiovascular diseases. It is a mixture of a less active lifestyle and a lack of any physical activity because the world we live in, unlike our caveman ancestors, the world has become so convenient that we no longer need to hunt to survive, but instead just order the next takeout meal on our phones. Mixed with poor dietary habits, we have the leading causes of the development of obesity, high blood pressure, and elevated cholesterol levels, all of which are major risk factors for cardiovascular diseases. An unhealthy dietary pattern, particularly one high in saturated fats, salt, and refined sugars, and the consumption of processed and fast foods coupled with a lack of nutrient-dense whole foods, puts you in a position that leads to the buildup of plaque in the arteries, a condition known as atherosclerosis, which increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. Your arteries are essentially the highways of your body, transporting blood from your heart to all other parts. With atherosclerosis, cholesterol creates multiple narrower lanes that makes the traffic heavier. As these blockages grow, they can start narrowing the arteries, making blood flow harder. It's similar to trying to pour water through a partially blocked straw. When this happens in the arteries leading to your heart needs constant oxygen-rich blood to keep ticking away. But if those arteries are blocked, blood flow gets restricted and your heart might not get the oxygen it needs, and we have a heart attack. Obesity. Despite obesity being a substantial predisposing factor for hundreds of other diseases like hypertension, diabetes, and stroke, more and more of the general public especially is becoming more tolerant of individuals who risk their health by not taking steps to avoid this, with approximately 42.4% of adults in the United States were classified as obese. You see, our bodies evolved similarly. To survive against predators and stay alive, you'd need to eat the same amount required by your basal metabolic rate. This is the amount of calories you need to stay alive daily, depending on your activities. If you were an active hunter, you would spend a lot of energy looking for food. Therefore, your caloric needs would be higher and vice versa. Now, if you were to take more food than your body needs, it would interpret this as a signal to store food for later, usually in the form of fat, in case you went hunting again and needed extra energy to burn when chasing the deer. If you didn't go chasing the deer, the body would continue to store this fat, as fat is also an excellent shock absorber and insulator. With modern living, hunting is usually replaced with physical activity, meaning if you keep on eating more food than your body actually needs, it could eventually lead to obesity. When combined with stress, poor sleep patterns, and chronic stress, your body's normal functioning is thrown out of control and you end up craving even more unhealthier foods. Sleep disorders. Predictably, our busier lifestyles and the easy overstimulation of our brains just before we get to bed have led to a rise in sleep disorders in individuals who were already genetically predisposed to them. Insomnia, you develop an awful inability to fall or stay asleep. For some people, it's layers of stress, racing thoughts, or poor sleep habits that keep them up all night. And the fact that a lot of people aren't aware of how horrible caffeine products are to our sleep cycles. In sleep apnea, where you literally stop breathing repeatedly throughout the night, linked to being overweight or having structural issues that block your airways, the constant wake-ups and oxygen deprivation leave you feeling horrible during the day. On to the list is narcolepsy, where at random times of the day you'd fall asleep no matter how well rested you feel. That's the hell for narcoleptics whose brains can't properly regulate sleep-wake cycles. Chronic respiratory diseases. As it's too easy to go to a vape shop and get another hit with no questions asked, and the constant inhalation of secondhand smoke from people around you, this is quickly becoming among the most common conditions of people between 16 to 50. Smoking is a massive risk factor for developing COPD. The chemicals in cigarette smoke cause lung inflammation and damage over time, making breathing difficult. Even secondhand smoke can harm the respiratory system, especially in children and those with existing conditions. But it's not just smoking. The air we breathe, whether it's from pollution outside or chemicals inside our homes, can also trigger asthma attacks and worsen COPD symptoms. Those particles and fumes irritate and inflame our airways, making it tough to catch a decent breath. Specific jobs also put people at risk, like mining, construction, or factories, where workers are exposed to dust, fumes, or chemicals daily. If proper safety gear isn't used, occupational hazards like the hundreds of microparticles workers inhale every day can damage the lungs to a point where they are irreversible. level. Being overweight puts extra strain on your respiratory system and limits lung capacity as your body needs to recruit even more muscles to help already tired lungs. But with fruits and vegetables and adequate exercise while you avoid smoking, this would reduce inflammation and make breathing a bit easier. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Bar your brain, no other organ in your body works as hard as your liver to keep you going, and not many realize the effects of excessive fat in your body, as this disease is a massive issue, with it affecting almost 25% of the entire world's population. It's a medical condition characterized by excessive fat accumulation in the liver of individuals who consume little to no alcohol. Many people usually don't experience any symptoms at all in the early stages. The fat can just silently build up in the liver without them even realizing it. But as the disease progresses, some people may start noticing a few telltale signs that something's up. One of the biggest is fatigue, feeling constantly drained and tired even after getting enough sleep. In more advanced stages, you might notice your abdomen getting larger or swollen due to fluid buildup and jaundice. Unfortunately, by the time symptoms appear, the liver may have already undergone irreversible scarring. Now, while alcohol isn't the main trigger for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, downing too many drinks can make the situation way worse and speed up liver damage. Even moderate drinking may increase your risk if you've got other factors like obesity or metabolic issues. Osteoporosis, a brittle bone condition that puts you at risk for fractures, is becoming more and more of a lifestyle-driven issue these days. Nutrition is crucial for building and maintaining strong bones. If you don't consume enough calcium, vitamin D, and other bone-boosting nutrients, you'll risk potential problems. During those crucial bone growth years, missing out on adequate calcium, like drinking milk daily, can leave you with weaker bones that are more prone to issues like osteoporosis later in life. But it's not just about what you eat. How active you are matters too. Living a lifestyle with little to no exercise is a significant risk factor. Weight-bearing activities and muscle-strengthening moves are essential for building and preserving bone density. Staying immobile for too long only accelerates bone loss and increases fracture risk. Then, you've got habits like smoking. Whether you light up yourself or just breathe in secondhand smoke, all those toxins can seriously disrupt your body's ability to absorb calcium and keep that bone remodeling process running smoothly, leaving you with weakened bones over time. If you're going about your day, a slight fall could lead to a fracture that would be impossible if you were healthy. It's not just your typical broken bone situation. These fractures can happen more quickly because your bones have lost their density and strength. But it's not just about the bones themselves. Osteoporosis can affect your posture, making you shorter over time as your spine curves. It's like your body is slowly shrinking. Chronic kidney disease. It's essentially a progressive condition that often flies under the radar in its early stages, making it crucial to address those unhealthy habits before things get out of hand. With a diet packed with sodium, all that excess salt can lead to high blood pressure, putting extra strain on your kidneys as they are put under pressure. If you overdo the protein, especially from animal sources, your poor kidneys will have to work harder. The combination of obesity and a sedentary lifestyle can contribute to the development of conditions like diabetes and hypertension, which are known to damage those kidneys over time. With habits like smoking and drinking too much alcohol, cigarette smoke can mess up the blood vessels supplying your kidneys. At the same time, excessive alcohol intake can lead to dehydration and make it harder for your kidneys to filter out waste effectively. You might not notice any symptoms in those early stages of CKD. The disease can just silently progress without any apparent signs. As it advances, you might start experiencing fatigue, swollen extremities, nausea, difficulty concentrating, frequent urination, especially at night, and even foamy or bubbly urine from protein leakage. Cutting down on salt, smoking, and alcohol will almost always decrease the risk of developing this. Mental health issues. Stress is usually one of the biggest culprits. Whether it's from work-life imbalance, relationship drama, money woes, or traumatic life events, that constant state of, oh crap, can chip away at your sanity bit by bit. Left unchecked, chronic stress can trigger anxiety disorders, depression, and even physical symptoms like headaches, insomnia, and gut problems. But it's not just stress. Our overall unhealthy habits feed into mental health issues too. Eating a total crap diet lacking in nutrients, being a professional couch potato, and substance abuse can all majorly impact our mental well-being. Diets lacking those omega-3s, vitamins, and minerals can mess with brain chemistry and contribute to mood disorders. And if you resort to eating more processed sugary foods, you're looking at an inflammation-causing diet that's been linked to increased depression risk. Physical activity, or lack thereof, plays a role too. Regular exercise is like a natural antidepressant, releasing those feel-good endorphins while improving mood, sleep quality, and self-esteem. But staying sedentary is a one-way ticket to mental health struggles. Unhealthy vices like alcohol and drug abuse can go on to spoil the ship further. Substance abuse quite literally alters your brain chemistry, leading to increased anxiety, depression, and an overall more challenging time managing existing mental health conditions. Hearing loss. We live in an incredibly noisy world now. Between blasting music through our headphones, growling motorcycles and car engines, and loud machinery at construction sites and factories, we are constantly bombarding our ears with aggressive sounds. The human ear is an amazingly sensitive part of your body. At its center, you have these sensitive hair projections that pick up sound and convert it to waves for your brain to interpret. Each hair cell can detect and transduce an incredibly specific range of sound frequencies based on factors like the length, width, and stiffness. However, hair cells are also quite fragile and non-regenerative in humans. Excessive noise exposure can permanently damage the delicate hair cells in our inner ear that translate sound waves into signals for our brains. Once destroyed, those cells don't regrow, meaning the hearing loss is permanent. So it's not unheard of that a spike in cases of progressive hearing damage as more younger people who are constantly plugged into headphones or earbuds, often listening at unsafe volume levels for hours on end. By doing this, you're essentially aging your ears by decades through these constant acoustic poundings day in, day out. Metabolic disorder. When you couple that lack of movement with eating food full of calorie-packed, nutrient-void foods, you've got a recipe for weight gain and obesity, significantly increasing your risk of developing insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and other metabolic issues. Diets loaded with refined carbs, saturated fats, and added sugars feed into insulin resistance, inflammation, and heightened risks for diabetes and metabolic syndrome. Conversely, filling up on whole, unprocessed foods like fruits, veggies, lean proteins, and whole grains helps keep your metabolism functioning properly. When you're constantly stressed, your body pumps out more cortisol, the hormone that promotes the accumulation of unhealthy belly fat and insulin resistance. Your fight-or-flight response is a physiological reaction triggered by perceived threats or issues in your world. This could be a deadline at angry coworkers or if you've been involved in a car accident. When faced with a stressor, the body releases hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline to prepare for action. These hormones increase heart rate, blood pressure, and blood sugar levels, providing the body with the energy needed to respond to the perceived threats. In the short term, the stress response is adaptive, helping individuals cope with immediate challenges. However, chronic or prolonged stress can have negative effects on health, including these metabolic disorders. Stress management techniques such as relaxation exercises, mindfulness practices, and stress-reducing activities may be beneficial in mitigating its impact on metabolic health. Adopting a healthy lifestyle, including regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and adequate sleep, can help support metabolic health and reduce the risk of metabolic disorders.